We are now to the end of the year wrap up. We're going to talk about 2019.
Top 10 games of the year.
The good, the bad, the ugly. Everything we have to say. Top 10 games for the three of us. First, let's just talk about a couple larger things, right? What was the trend of the year for you? What is the most interesting trend that you saw in gaming this year?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a push towards friendlier competitive games with less negative player experiences, which leads to multiplayer solitaire.
Okay.
And I saw a trend towards effective digital implementation of game space.
Like what?
Sure.
Like we're talking like Through the Ages, the expansion that came out for that, Terraforming Mars, just more of kind of finding what makes board game space important and particular, finding ways of putting in the digital space. I don't think it's, not replacing anything, but you finally seeing
this is the year that you started board gaming on.
But I also saw a lot of other people effectively implementing it in that space.
Yeah.
The most notable trend for me this year was the decided drop in the ALFRED-ness of the games that I played this year. Largely a positive trend
that we played.
Yes, we just everything went off the rails. No, I think it was the increasing gulf between heavy and light games. Trey talked about this on a previous episode, and I totally agree with what he said, which was that we thought for a while that what was happening in the hobby was that games were getting more streamlined, that we were taking game concepts and we were boiling them down to their essences and making games that were just very elegant and very precise. But actually what has happened over the last year has been sort of a bifurcation. There have been games that have been getting simpler and friendlier and cleaner, and there have also been games on Mars and others that have reveled in their baroqueness, that have pushed the other end of the scale and said, no, this is for people that want to.
Barrage, City of Big Shoulders, Pipelines, PAX Transhumanity. I mean, PAX Pamir. These are all very heavy games.
And I would say there's a bit of
that wasn't this year.
And there's a bit of renaissance that's happening with the 18XX.
Oh, big time.
Right now, right?
And it's finding its way into other games, Tokyo Metro and Big City.
Exactly right.
City of Big Shoulders, yeah.
Which I love. I'm so happy that is happening, because I really do feel like there is, as more people enter this hobby, that there is a broader and broader realm of people and taste. And I feel like the hobby was in danger of contracting and trying to get
casual.
Well, not even that so much as to try to get games that please everyone, and by doing so please no one. And it is not happening right now. It is decidedly not happening. There are games that are being made for every kind of player. And I particularly applaud the heavier, more Baroque titles, because those are never going to sell the way the lighter, softer games are going to. And because of that, those are labors of love. Those are works of art, and I applaud that.
Yep.
Reprint of the year. What do you guys think was? We had a lot of really cool, really interesting reprints. We reviewed at least 2 or 3 of them on the pod. What was the reprint that?
Well, the most important one, the one that to me was the most needed reprint in all of board gaming, was Dune.
Yes.
No, never has a game deserved to be in more people's hands and wasn't than Dune.
Yeah, it's not that the reprint itself was so amazing, but
it's just that people could buy it.
Simply that it's available.
Yeah, you don't have to spend $300 on it.
Yeah, and
to buy an ugly copy.
All these people who can now suddenly play a game that previously was virtually unplayable.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Hands down.
For me, PAX Pamir, I thought was a wonderful, very similar. It was a re-implementation. It comes.
Okay. We'll get into that in the top 10. That's not a reissue to me. That is a brand new game.
It's not that different.
Okay.
I
disagree.
Okay.
I think it's wildly different. I think it's a new game.
All right. There we go. Anything for you, Alfred?
I mean, Dune.
Yeah.
Having played it with you before and talked about it with some of my new board game friends or people who I know are enthusiasts, and I would just always get curious looks and quizzical glances, and now now we can reference it in proper.
Yeah, Totally agree. Disappointment of the year. What was there that was just like kind of wish that was better. Wish that knocked it out of the park.
That couldn't have an easier answer for me.
Yeah,
Black Angel.
Yeah.
I've never had a more anticipated game in my whole life. It couldn't have lived up to the hype of it. I did not dislike Black Angel, but I sold it. I don't think I'd play it again. If there's an expansion, I'm very excited to see what it is. But I played it 6-7 times, and I will now play Trois, my favorite game of all time, instead.
There you go.
And I like Black Angel. I'm not saying I dislike it. I don't need to play it again.
It didn't live, the juice didn't live up to the
It's
squeeze.
I'll just play Trois. I'll just play Trois.
So close.
It wasn't the Frappuccino that we.
Is that the same for you?
No. I mean, there's no Frappuccinos are just not good. Period. But yeah, it was. Black Angel was. I was thematically. There's still a lot of room in that space, in outer space to be utilized. I think. It was a real, I think it betrayed us as a game group. It really sounded like it was going to be all things for our particular game group, and brought it to the table and just didn't tick anyone's box. I think maybe that's a example of just different game space, different game ideas, and no diss to nobody, but it just wasn't that game for.
I think you guys are doing it a disservice. I think on the 12th play, I think it starts to get really, really good. No, for me, Tapestry. I'm not exactly a Jamie Stegmaier super fan. I do like his games a lot, but when I hear Jamie Stegmaier is doing a big, bold, beautiful Civ game kills me. Civ game, I'm, I can't help but get super, super excited about that. And I just didn't love Tapestry. It was a disappointment on a few levels. And, I should be, at this point, I should be wise enough to know that when somebody says they're coming out with the new Civ game, I should immediately just put my expectations on the floor, and because heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak with Vlaada Chvátil's exception, it has
through the ages, yeah,
exactly, and Nations, both,
yep, great games.
Are amazing, and I was really, really hoping that it would be something amazing, and for me it was not. So
we're gonna do our top 10 or what?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Start with number 10.
Let's do it.
Alfred, are you joining in on this?
Nope.
Okay, you're just gonna be color commentary.
No, probably not.
Okay, cool. See you later.
You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. My number 10 is Marvel Champions, and also a way to segue into talking about my solo eps. Check out the very first episode of Solo Mode, our little tiny bite-size 30-minute episodes that I'll try to be churning out a couple times a month. My first review is Marvel Champions. I enjoyed it a lot. You can hear more about that there.
My number 10 is Jaws. So we mentioned at BGG-Con how much we loved Jaws and how much it tickled us. Matt, you played it. You didn't really like it, did you?
I didn't enjoy it. No. I didn't find it to be engaging. I found it to play itself to me a little bit, and I found that I wish everybody could be the shark.
It is fun being the shark, that's for sure.
I think it's only fun being the shark. I don't think the other thing's fun. Here, let me just talk about these type of games, these deduction games. I guess the truth is I don't like deduction games because to me it's like, okay, where's the shark? The shark could be here. The shark could be here. The shark could be here. Okay. He's in one of those. I don't know. I don't know. That's to me is the whole game is just doing that. Where's the shark? Could be here. Could be here. Could be here. Do we have any reason to think it could be? I mean, it's 33% chance of hitting him. Go. I don't know. To me, that's not a game.
You're talking about Tom's sweet spot, though. He loves these games. You have numerous times you've mentioned different games that take on the same Sherlock
Holmes Consulting Detective. Even games like Scotland Yard, the hidden movement deduction games, which is what this is. They're wonderful.
I like the One Ring a lot. I like the Hobbit version of
Yes.
it because I love that theme so much, and I think that's a fun game, and I can get into the theme. I liked
Fury of Dracula, Whitechapel.
To me, this one exists in a weird spot where it's too complicated that I could teach it to non-gamers, but it's not complicated enough where it's fun for me. And it's just like, oh, I don't know, roll a die. Is the shark there? You're not? Okay, next turn. Is the shark there? He's not? Okay, next turn. I don't know.
This segues into my new segment, which is going to be great games that Maddie doesn't like. We'll be doing little half-hour bite-sized episodes of that.
I'll make a song for that too. Let's do it.
It was the cooperative side of the game, which is what 3 or 4 people are doing, is not. I'll play the shark if you guys want to play it again, but I don't want to just sit there and go, okay, I don't know. Is the shark there? I don't know. Move your piece. Is he there? No. Okay, your turn. I don't know. It wasn't fun. That wasn't fun to me.
You've been soloing too long, my friend. It's a wonderful. Listen, I'm not saying it's got depth, it's got legs, and anything like that, but playing the three people trying to work together to get this damn shark is sublime. And Paul absolutely adored it. Trey loves it. We love this game. It's a really good game. Number 9.
You. It's a really good game to you.
My number 9 is City of the Big Shoulders. City of the Big Shoulders is basically kind of an 18xx game without trains.
So much lower on your list than I thought it would be.
I really like it. I guess what it is for me is the only thing I would say negative about it. And it's in my top 10, so it's definitely up there. The only thing I would say about it is that I'm not sure that I would play this if I had the option of playing the games that it mimics but doesn't quite play, right? If I could play Age of Steam or the 18xx games, I would probably rather play the version that has a board aspect to it as opposed to this, which is purely the economics part of it.
Okay.
But I like this game a lot.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good game. And I would say that the expansion companies make the game way more playable, much more interesting. They take something that's already good and they make it truly great.
Clearly it's higher on my list. Number 9 for me is Tapestry. I really had fun. When I did my top 10, I did not think of the best games this year. I thought of the games that captured me more than any other games this year. The games that I had the most fun playing, that I thought the most about, that I was most excited to get, the most excited to play. I really still like Tapestry. I know what it is. It is not a well-balanced, fair fight amongst all people, but to me, the experience of playing it is really fun.
Okay.
I just have fun while I'm playing it, and I hope I get to play it more. I'm excited to try Jamie's attempts at balancing it. I'm curious to see how those work, but I'm okay if they fail as well, because to me, just the experience of playing the game is fun.
Okay. I can't say I agree, but I'm happy that I'm happy that you find joy in it.
I have fun in it, and the theme comes through to me, and I totally get that it doesn't for others, but I genuinely feel like the theme comes through, and for me, it tells a cool story.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
What's your number 8?
Oh, I just did my number 9. Are we going back and forth?
Well, we're snaking. I did 9 and 9. I did 10 and 9. I know you did 9.
My number 8 is Maracaibo, but I'm putting an asterisk on this because it could be much higher. I need to keep playing it. It's the game on my brain right now in terms of games I'm most excited about and keep wanting to play. I'm mostly playing it solo, and I find it to be an incredible experience. It might be true that this is one of the best solo games ever made, and that's how it's meant to be played. I don't know, because I've only played it 2-player once. I've played it solo like 7 times now, and the story that comes through it, nobody's ever done a legacy Euro like this before that plays solo, and it's so fun.
I would say campaign mode more than legacy, but okay.
Yeah. You're not throwing anything away, but it's legacy in the sense that it plays different every time.
Yeah.
And you're making choices. You're making branching paths that once you get to the end of the campaign.
Yeah.
I think you would want to start over because there's just it just switches it up enough.
Maybe I don't. Yeah. It didn't. 5 tries and didn't quite ring the bell.
Yeah.
I gotta beg off of that one. My number 8 is Marvel Champions, a game that my friend Matt Robinson gifted to me.
Have you played it yet?
Bought it for me yet?
Oh, good.
Have I played it? Come on. No, I play with my son at home. We've been playing it a lot over the break.
Excellent.
And it is delightful.
Yeah, it is.
It is a delightful game.
And I hope it just gets better. I've played the Captain America expansion. I have not played the Miss Marvel expansion yet.
I am much more interested in the new villains than I am with the new
I played
new
against
heroes,
Green Goblin.
personally.
It plays very different. Green Goblin has a alter ego side and flips back and forth, and you have to get Norman Reedus to turn into the Green Goblin before you can attack him.
Norman Reedus?
Isn't that his name? No? Oh, that's the actor. What's his name? Green Goblin's real name.
The Oscorp.
Norman Osborn.
Osborn.
I was close.
Osborn.
Yeah. It's not the guy from Walking Dead. Norman Osborn. No, he turns into the guy from Walking Dead. It's super weird.
My number 7 game of the year is the game that most affected the hobby this year, the amazing Wingspan.
Ooh.
Listen, If I was more into games on the lighter side, it would be number 1. No question about it. The only reason it's at number 7 is that it is a little light for my tastes, but there is no denying that Elizabeth created an incredible, very well done game. I'm a huge sucker for atypical themes, for themes that explore a different subset of things that are interesting to human beings.
Yep.
That's games like Democker, games like Container. They just play very, very differently, even if they're not quite as differently, just because the theme, the story that you're telling is different. And Wingspan just hits that out of the park.
Wingspan does not make my top 10. It would have been my number 11. The reason it didn't is actually, to me, it's not too light at all. In fact, I think it's a good weight. To me, it's that experience I find to be a little too imbalanced. Whereas it doesn't bother me with Tapestry, because to me that's more experiential. With Wingspan, to me, Wingspan is an optimization puzzle to me, right? It's an engine builder, and to me there are a handful of cards that are too strong, and a handful of cards that are too weak. And to me, that's I don't know. It makes the game feel like, well, this is an optimization puzzle.
But the weaker cards are much easier to build, right?
Yeah,
and
I mean,
so
I've taken out a handful of
strategy.
cards. I forget which ones exactly where I wrote them down. I've taken out a handful of cards when I play it because I think they. I hate to be the guy who's like, I think they're broken, because I'm very rarely that guy.
You're just weird.
But I found a few cards that just seemed like. Well, the way they've priced out a few cards, in terms of like the value of them, is just off on a few. It's just like, well, you're paying the same price and getting less here, so that's just a worse card. I don't know. If a couple of them were just, I don't know. To me, in an engine builder, I need balance, and this felt a little off. And
yet Tapestry.
Well, it's not an engine builder to me. It's an experience. It's much to me. Well, I'm just telling you to me.
Sure, yeah.
I don't look at that and go, I need this to be a balanced engine builder. To me, it's Civ game.
Gotcha. Okay. My number 6 is...
I also have not tried the expansion yet, which could totally solve all my problems. Otherwise, I love the game. It just felt like, well, if I'm going to play an engine builder, I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe. Listen, the cards for the European one, maybe they're more balanced. Maybe they're more nuanced.
I think they're a little more interactive too.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. Did you do yours number 7?
No. My number 7 is Paladins of the West Kingdom. I absolutely love this game, and I totally understand why you don't. It is the most multiplayer solitaire game I've ever played in my entire life, and I am so happy when I'm playing this game. This game could actually end up being in my top 3 if more plays of it. I love it. I don't know. I don't ever want to play Architects if I can play this instead.
Wow.
I think it's so much more fun. I love the experience of playing that game. I also I will never play Orleans again because to me this is just the best version of that. When I'm playing that game, my brain is firing on all cylinders and I'm loving it.
Wow. That's amazing. When you and I played it together, it was your last action. I was like, oh my God, you have done something that has affected my game.
Yeah. To me, I'm just just having so much fun while I'm playing that game. I love the decisions.
Good.
I love the choices. I love the what feels like a tech tree of strategies that I'm picking from. Listen, if it wasn't so insular, and if the game did not seem to put a huge wall in between each player and put you in a cubby playing by yourself, if it didn't do that, everything else about the game is quite interesting. It's a brilliant solitaire game.
The 3 different, the 6 different main actions that you're going for, and how they're each balanced against one another. One needs the other thing, and all that sort of stuff. Not unlike on Mars, actually, in terms of the cyclical nature of the various resource needs and the various levels that you need to be on various things. It is very interesting. I just don't like what the game ends up doing.
This is one where I'm never going to try to convince you
to
like it, because it is not the flavor that you like. This is a game I think Alfred would love. I think Alfred would love Paladins.
You mean because he's entirely alone?
No, I know his play style, and I feel like this is the type of combo crazy. This is a combo game. This is a find your combo game.
You're not really a multiplayer solitaire game, are you?
I haven't tended toward those games, but I do feel like this year, that being one of the huge trends of this year, and I haven't participated as much in game space.
I don't think it's a deterrent for you usually.
No, it's not necessarily a deterrent, but I just think there was a sweet spot that was hit this year with a lot of these games where the balance was really struck, and even though you're kind of solo mode with everybody in the same room, which is a little odd sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
maybe, I mean, I can't wait to play.
Yeah. Cool.
What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Taverns of Tiefenthal. I love it. This makes me want to sell all my other deck builders. I want my deck builders to be medium weight experiences. This is on the heavier side of medium in terms of deck builders to me. I love it. I think I understand that I have a fear with this game that there is only one way to win it. I have not yet decided if that's true, but I could see it being possible, and that would be a bummer, which could be totally fixed by an expansion as well.
Yeah.
But this like Paladins, when I think of both of these games, I just think I'm just having so much fun during every turn of this game, and the time is flying by.
This is my number 11. It's not on my list because I feel like it's just shy of that. I do feel like there is a I can't see what the other strategy is that's going to compete with it.
Yeah.
Too early to say. Obviously, I would love to play it again. I love the theming of it so much. The modular board that you can flip over and
the components are
your
just
things.
fun, and they're so great.
The fact that the dice go on coasters that you pass around. It's an adorable, fantastic game. I really do like it so much.
What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Sabotage, the new Tim Fowers game.
I have not played.
It is a delight. Okay, so I loved Captain Sonar for what it was.
Yeah.
I loved it, but how are you going to get 8 players together to play a real-time, a real-time loopy little fun game?
Not in our game group.
It's tough. Sabotage is a 4-player game that takes the real-time aspect out of it and turns it into a 2 versus 2 strategy game with a big wall between the two of you. The spies are trying to disable the global destruction weapons. The supervillains are trying to find where the spies are and kill them 5 times each, or so, 5 times total. The variable powers that you can power up and get to unlock new abilities for your side. It's delightful. It is a delightful game. I would have and here's the thing, I have as much fun playing it with my family as I would at a game night.
Okay. It's not a bridge too far for non-gamers?
It is not. No, there's a simpler mode that you can play to start. I say play the simple mode for your first game, and then once everybody's down with that, then just throw them into the deep end, and they can grok the rest of it pretty easily.
Okay.
It's a delight. I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
My number 5 is a 2-player game only. Watergate is amazing. Watergate is incredible. When you showed me Watergate, I started playing it. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
This scratches the itch that Twilight Struggle.
It's 30-minute Twilight Struggle
in 30 minutes, and I could not be more in. The theme. Speaking of interesting, exciting theme, you can learn a lot about that period, which in our current era we could all do to learn a little more from the Watergate era, and the issues that bring up then feel very topical right now, and just incredible.
The only reason it's not on my list is because 2-player games are the least player count I play. I don't game with my partner. I don't game with my children.
Yep.
And when I game, it's never really with one other person. So,
Fair enough.
2 is it's a great game. It doesn't get to the table for me.
I hear you. Yeah. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Res Arcana, a game Tom did not enjoy at all, but
you are just
absolutely loved.
Have we just not clicked at all this year? Because
we've been on different pages.
Like 3 or 4 of these games are games that I kind of actually don't really like.
Yeah, I love Res Arcana. The expansion's coming out in the next couple months. I couldn't be more excited for it. I enjoy every time I play this game. It's also this to me feels like terraforming Mars in 30 minutes. That's sort of what this feels like to me. This is
really
it's you are handed a handful of lemons, and you got to make the best lemonade you can make. It is I don't know. I love it. I love to me, it's a system, and I'm so excited to see the different places of power they come out with, because those change the game so rapidly. The more you get to know the cards, the more strategic and fun the game is. I don't know. I love it. It's to me, it's right after New Frontiers, which also came out this year, which I love. I like this more, which is saying a lot for Tom Lehman engine builders.
I think for me, it's less of an engine builder and more of a race game, and
It's both, yeah.
And I've noticed I came to a conclusion about this game quite recently because people, other people have been talking about it and how much they love it, and I was like, what? I really tried to dive down and say, what is it about the game at its heart that I'm just not clicking with? And for me, if a race game is too short, it starts to feel arbitrary. It starts to feel arbitrary is not the right word, but I don't like a race game that is that plays well under an hour because I feel like the slightest these cards that I decided to start with that just didn't work out. It's a game of inches from the first card play sometimes, because it's a race, because it's getting to that point score, and that point score is going to be 20 minutes from now. For me, I don't like it. I don't
For
like
me,
it.
that problem is alleviated by just knowing the card pool more, and I think the drafting really helps that. I think the drafting is I think this is the best
Drafting helps for sure.
This is the best, most fun drafting in any game I've ever played because I love that aspect of it. It's so you are building your entire game in the first 10 minutes of the game. You build an 8-card deck that is your deck. That is all the cards you'll ever have, all the actions, all the possibilities. And that to me is like it takes that experience of draft night at Magic the Gathering, and it's the closest I've found a board game able to recreate that feeling of like, oh man, how am I going to put together something that's going to destroy everybody else's deck? And it actually, I would
great.
say this is I would honestly say this is the closest I've gotten a Magic the Gathering feel in a board game yet.
And to do that with so few cards, to do that with so few components in the game,
it's very
is
similar
amazing.
to Magic. The resources you're using in order to pay for different cards, or
No, I listen. This is why I'm trying to say that I don't like this game, and I'm trying to analyze why I don't like this game, is specifically because I recognize the beauty of the design of it, even though I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll try the expansion. Maybe it'll change your mind.
Yeah, I would love to have another bite.
I would also say Ian O'Toole had an amazing year. This is my favorite art of the year.
I do not care for it.
I am a sucker for beautiful fantasy art.
You
to me,
are.
This is gorgeous.
Listeners should know that we are surrounded by velvet paintings of dragons right now. I mean, this 16-foot one is astonishing. It really dominates the room. I don't know why the dwarf is wearing a thong. I don't understand that. But hey, everybody has their own style. Was that your number 4 or number 5?
That was my number 5.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is Pipeline. Pipeline is a fantastic heavy Euro from Capstone Games. I believe this was Capstone's first original game that wasn't a reprint or a pickup from somewhere else. Pipeline is a game that I hope doesn't do the thing that other amazing games like Panamax and stuff has done, which is to sort of just dip out of our rotation, because I think it deserves more plays. I know that the designer Ryan Courtney is working on an expansion. I'm very excited for that. But yeah, this is a game that I hope we get to play more. I think it's a game that has a high learning curve, and I think I'm not quite at the pinnacle of that learning curve yet.
Yeah, I mean, I see why you put it at number 4. Let's just leave it at that. Okay. My number 4 is Pipeline. Let's say this. If Ian O'Toole has had the best year of his career, Capstone Games has Publisher of the Year.
Publisher of the Year, hands down. Not even close.
Not even remotely close.
They blew everyone else out of the water.
They are destroying it for our tastes.
Yeah.
They are
now, if you like heavy games
amazing
this year,
game after amazing game.
If you like heavy games, you helped Capstone pay the rent this year.
Exactly. I mean, incredible how many great games they put out this year, and Pipeline is no exception. I will be probably playing Pipeline this afternoon. We have some friend of my wife's. I'm going to teach my wife and her friends. I don't think it's inaccessible. I think it's actually fairly easy to understand how to play. How to play well is a different story, but the rules overhead for the teach itself is not that bad.
Well, I also think it has that Agricola thing where even if you're not competitive, you can have fun building your little world.
Yeah, just the little possible AP part, but like the little pipeline puzzle.
I mean, there is
wonderful.
There is a multiplayer solitaire element to this as well, where you can really you could be failing at the game and still enjoy your little pipe world you've built.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. My number 3, here we go, top 3. Big time. Big time. My top three. This one, number three has to have a. I don't know what that was.
That was a snake.
Fair enough.
I think that was the trollop. The number three game for me probably has to have an asterisk in front of it because I've only played it 2.5 times.
Oh, wow. On Mars is number 3.
On Mars is number 3.
Didn't even make my top 10 because
listen, I was. That's where I was at. I was at. Does Taverns of Tiefenthal become number 10 and Pipeline become number 3, or do I go with my brain or do I go with my heart?
Yeah, you should have gone with your heart.
I went with my heart. My heart is On Mars is my number 3 game of the year. I think that the most recent play, which essentially was a third play. Each play, I got so much more into it each and every time. It was almost exponential. And by the last play of it, I was just deeply, deeply, deeply in love with the possibility of what this game could become and could be.
I cannot disagree with you, and I would like to ask you, while I am gone for the next couple of months, to please keep it in the rotation so it still exists when I come back.
Very much so.
Yeah, because I think we should revisit this list in a year and see what actually stuck around, because On Mars could be my number 1 by the end of this year. Who knows? By the end of next year.
You think we're doing this in a year? You're crazy.
This is it, guys. Wrapping it up.
We should have said that at the head.
Yeah, last episode ever.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is City of Big Shoulders. I adore this game. I love it. I think it scratches an itch that no other game scratches. It gives me an 18xx feel. It gives me an Arkwright feel. I think it's a brilliant worker placement game. I love the mechanic that's in it that I haven't seen anywhere else, which is you build your own worker placement spaces that you get to go to for free, but if other people get to go to them, you get a benefit. I think that's really fun that you're drafting your worker placement. I can't think of a game where you're drafting your worker placement spaces that are a little bit yours, but a little bit communal. Just that alone is really fun. The way operations work in the game, the way dividends are paid out. I think it's great. I absolutely love it. And I hope it's a game that we play for years and years.
Awesome. What's number 2?
My number 2 is Barrage.
What?
My number 2 game of the year.
What?
Is Barrage.
We got some nonsense coming up now. I don't know. Go for it.
I absolutely love Barrage.
Holy cow.
Everything that ever needs to be said about Barrage is here. I think.
What's the episode?
Are you shocked? I'm shocked.
I haven't played Barrage yet, and that is my biggest misgiving of 2019.
We're going to take care of that.
I think it's beautiful. I can't wait for them to send me a box that doesn't split on all 4 corners and components that are usable. I hope that will happen.
They hurt him. They hurt him bad.
It didn't stop me from enjoying the game. I love it. I hope I get to play it more. It is a game that rewards more and more plays. It is a game that rewards a meta in your group, 100%. I think you have to. I think it's a game that you need to find the strategies with in your group. You need to find what works for your group, and I think it's a game that could be your only game you own in your group, and you would be fine for a long time.
I agree with that. People who listen to the podcast, you know what my number 2 and number 1 are. It's just a question of what the order is. My number 2 game is Crystal Palace. My number 2 game is Crystal Palace. It is a delight from the moment we started playing it. The moment the very first turn began, and I have 4 dice, and I'm not going to roll them. I have $40, and whatever numbers I choose on those dice is the money that I have to spend for that. And I know that I've got 5 rounds to go through, and I'm looking at those loan tokens and how painful and how terrible they are. And yet I'm looking at all of the things that I want to and need to do, and just that very first decision of picking the dice on the first round, I was bouncing up and down because it hurt. It hurt so bad trying to figure out how to do that right. And then when I realized with the dice placement, oh my goodness, I have a 5. If I put this 5 here, I can lock that in and I can grab that thing. But if I do, I sacrifice all these other things, like holding on to that and being able to be the person to decide later on what I'm going to take first. Not placing that 1 in that crucial space that if I don't put that there, I don't know what I'm going to do with this 1 on this die. It's an amazing design. It's a really incredible game. The only reason it's not number 1 is that Trey has talked about this a little bit. The cards are there are probably too many cards in the game. It would be a better game if it was a little closer to all or most of the cards for the inventions and most of the cards for the famous personages, if most of them would come out over the course of the game, if you'd be able to see most of them. As it is, only about half of the cards come out each game. And because it's a game that exists on that knife's edge, not knowing, having there being a large random factor as to which synergies are going to appear. You can spend a lot of your precious resources to get an invention that more than one person is going to want, and then neither of those people come up in the game. You've been dealt a bad hand by the game, and this game is elegant to the point of it's harmed by that inefficiency.
I'm just bummed out I didn't get to play it this year. Who knows where it would be on my list? It's the game I most want to play.
Alfred played it.
It was really fun, and not to rub it in or anything, but I do think the variability actually is what I found to be part of the sweet spot. Having not played it before, I didn't have to have perfect information. I didn't have to have it be a through the ages thing of like, oh, I have to be careful about this card coming out or this thing. It was really just kind of pure. So you react to the board as it's changed. Some things are going to be synergized, some things aren't, but then you just have to look at the bigger picture, and it was really cracking.
To be clear, I think Trey would like the game where the only cards in the game are all the cards that will come out. More of the Agricola style thing.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Wait, how is that Agricola?
Because the cards for each round are the only cards that come out.
I see.
The round
you don't mean
cards.
the occupation cards. Okay, got it.
No, I'm not talking occupation cards.
Got it.
I'm just saying by round 15,
Sure.
you know exactly that card is going to be this or this, and then the last card is definitely always going to be this. So there's some foreknowledge and planning that can go in. I'm not of that school. But I do think that the cards are not quite as they don't crush it as well as they could have. There's some things that were left on the table. There's too many of the cards were just like, oh, that's not really a very interesting card. I get what it is, but it's not very interesting. And if they culled back some of those cards from the deck, they might have made a slightly more interesting game. Listen, it's my number 2 game of the year. I adore it. So I know what I'm talking about are the negatives, but the truth of it is that it's an incredible game, and it's a mean game. If you're okay with a game that doesn't, that is going to leave you a little battered, a little bloody, I recommend playing it. And then, of course, my number 1 is Barrage. Barrage is an incredible game.
Where would it be in your top 10 of all time?
Top 10.
Just you don't have to be specific.
Yeah.
Would it be in the top 5? Would it be in the top 3?
No. I think it would be in the top 10 though, but I don't think it would be. I got a lot of games that are. I still need to play more to see, but yeah, it might be 8.
Okay,
might be my number 8, somewhere around there.
I won't hold you to it.
I will say this: I'm not as enamored of the expansion as other people are. I think that. Some of that sideboard stuff pulls the attention away from...
You hate a sideboard.
I do sometimes.
Yeah.
I do sometimes. Look, if there are actions that you can take that mean you don't have to build dams and you don't have to transmit power and you don't have to flow water, that I think is a negative.
You don't want a barrage. You don't want a version of barrage where you don't have to barrage.
Yes, exactly. And to some extent, not all of the things in the expansion do that, but some of the things in the expansion do that, and that I'm not so crazy about. Sure. But the ability to have a building / construction game in which the way to activate things and to get points is a flowing water system whereby people can steal your water or use the water that you have already used to take these actions again, and the way the board plays out pretty much differently every single game is an astonishing accomplishment.
It's the most old school, new school game I've ever played.
Yes.
It's the most it's the perfect combination of it's almost like the modern Euros it's got the entire breadth of history in it. Like it still feels like a 1980s, 1990s hardcore, don't care about you war game or an evil Martin Wallace, you die to loans game. But it also feels like a very modern Euro as well.
Yeah, I mean it has some very take that elements to it. You build a dam right above my dam, and that's war.
I don't know who said it, but I always think of this quote of, if you can't lose a game on turn 1, why is there a turn 1?
That was Joris Viersingen, Splatter.
Right, yeah.
That's what they said.
That is definitely the design theory of this game.
That was their response to the question of your games are very, very hard to get in, and you can lose on the first turn. And that was their response. Right. Yes. If you can't lose on the first turn, why have a first turn?
Put that on my gravestone.
Why not start the game on turn 2?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I'm like, I get it.
Yep.
All right, Maddie.
My number one game of the year.
I'm trying to, you know what? I don't even want you to say because I want to try and figure out what the heck it is.
Okay.
Marvel Champions again?
Is your number one
We talked about it.
game? Oh, I know what your number one game is. Okay. I ruled it out because under the rules, it is not a new game.
It's 100% a new game.
You're talking about the second edition of PAX Pamir?
PAX Pamir second edition, yes.
Okay. But you know that it says second edition.
Yeah. Do you know that it has its own BGG listing, as many second editions do, and that it is a vastly different game?
Go ahead.
Okay. PAX Pamir second edition is, to me, the best design of the year. It is the best game of the year for me. It is my favorite game of the year. It is the game that I think deserves to be played 5 years from now. I think Barrage also falls in that category. I think anything in my top 3 falls in that category. But to me, PAX Pamir is the most beautiful game of the year in terms of its design, in terms of, I think it's a game that plays perfectly at every player count. I don't know if I've played this game now at every player count. I don't know if I've ever felt that way about a game. I like it, and it's almost having 5 games in one. A 5-player game of PAX Pamir is a completely different game than a 4-player or a 3 or a 2 because of the way that the game is split into 3 different factions all fighting for control. The fact that it doesn't look like any other game that's ever been made. The fact that every single component in the game is a component you've never seen before in another game. From the cloth board to these beautiful ceramic blocks to, I mean, the way that he uses cards, it takes the PAX system and it just takes the pieces it likes from it. It's not a complicated game. I think it's a complicated game to grok, but a simple game to learn. You could be playing the game in 5 minutes. It's honestly a very simple game to teach. There's only a few actions you can do.
Yep.
It's very simple. You can. It's one of those great games where you can teach as you go. I've taught this game to people who've never played modern board games before, and it blows their minds. The amount of history and theme that comes through it, the fact that there is 100 card deck of cards, and every time you only play with 30 of them, makes it a utterly completely different game. I mean, the variability in this game is off the charts.
But it lacks Phil Eklund's comments on that history.
It is not wildly offensive.
Every time I'm playing it, I'm like, but what does Phil Eklund think about this?
Yeah.
What does he feel about the Mujahideen? I would really like to know that.
No, you don't. You do not.
No, listen. If my own criteria allowed it to be in my top 10, it would be top 4 easily.
I want to play this. This is a game that I always want to play. I wish I could play it more. I want to play it right now. I honestly, I wish it was a game that everyone in our group was as excited with me, because I think it's one of those games that we would have stories about for years, because it is so different every time. It is such a knife fight. Well, it is so mean, but also so fun. And I don't know, the decision space to me is just, it's
amazing. I mean,
the more I think about it, the more angry I get that we don't play it constantly.
I was super, I mean, if I may jump in, I was super excited to play this, and I think I took it the game or two.
I think you won every time you played it.
But that being said, I think one of the things that both makes it really special in game space, but also it was a little swingy. Like, I didn't have any points in one of the games, and then I came out ahead. And of course, that's strategic, and there's like lots to be said about it.
This is a game that needs many plays to know the card pool,
totally,
and to know what's not in the deck and things like that. And but this is also a game where this is a war game.
You have to be really aware of the person.
You do, but you have to be tactical as much as strategic.
I fear that the last round scoring is overpowered. I do feel that, but
I don't mind.
There's a lot, but that's.
I'm not saying that definitively.
No. But a well-played game is about preparing for the final round. Yeah. That's and having more options than other people to make sure you're in the perfect position that no matter what happens, you can adapt faster than anybody else. That to me, what the game is about, building an engine that can adapt to anything that can happen in that last round more than anybody else.
And I think in terms of any of the other games you mentioned, this is the one that has the most theme to gameplay ratio.
Oh my God,
it's incredible.
the theme
because-
is insane.
All of the PAX games do.
This is the only game I
the-
read this year that made me read a 500-page book about a history topic I didn't know existed until I heard
when
of
I
this
first
game.
got when I first got PAX Porphyriana like 3 years ago, and that started our whole. We suddenly started getting all the PAX games. I didn't know much about the Porphyrian piece or any of that sort of stuff, and I'm like, holy cow! What an amazing piece of history that I knew relatively nothing about, and a game brought me into it and had me read and learn so much more about it. It's really incredible.
That's our top 10s of the year. Can I ask you one quick question?
Yes.
Favorite new game to you of the year? Could have, I mean, maybe it's Brush. I don't know. But you tell me, what is your favorite new game you had never played before that you played in 2019?
I have an answer for this.
Go ahead, Alfred.
I like Tricarion. That was a game that came out a couple years ago. It was introduced to us by accident, by random, and it was profound.
That is 100% my answer as well. Tricarion is my favorite game I played in 2019.
Really? I think Tricarion would be my number 3
Okay.
behind Barrage and
Crystal
Crystal Palace.
Tricarion? I'm just saying
Tricarion
this right now, is in my
amazing.
top 3 of all time. I think I couldn't love it more. It's one of my favorite games I've ever played.
Just played it last week.
Yeah.
Just played it last
You
week.
have not yet played with the expansion
Amazing.
yet.
I've not played with the Dalgard's Academy.
Yeah.
I have not played with that. Though I have a question about that. I wonder if that is becoming a hat on a hat. There are so many things going on in the game already.
I don't know. From my 2 plays of
too
it, I
far?
don't think so. It's not doing the barrage thing where you can barrage without barraging. It is you still have to perform.
Because what you're doing when you do that is you're improving tricks and you're getting money for loaning out tricks,
or
and
you're
things like
selling
that.
tricks.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Which is such a fun concept. It's totally like a brain breaking concept.
Can't wait to play with the expansion. Absolutely love the game. It might. Yeah, you know what? Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
You know what
we all
my
share that.
my second favorite new to me game in 2019 was? Just One.
Yeah, Just One was great.
Just One's perfect.
Just One is amazing.
It's perfect.
It probably should have been on both of our
No,
lists.
because it came out in
that's
2018.
That's
it
right,
would have been in my top 3.
Yeah.
It might have been number 1. I mean, it's the best family game I've played in maybe 5 years.
You need to play Wavelength.
Yeah, I do. I know.
It's great.
Last
It's
question:
also great.
most anticipated game of 2020.
Most anticipated game of 20.
If you could snap your fingers right now and have any game being released in 2020 in your hands right now, what would it be?
I don't even know.
You don't even know.
I don't even. I mean, I got with a couple things, but good.
I really, really, really want the Wingspan expansion to balance all the issues I have to be.
We have it right here.
You have the expansion already?
Yeah, it came out like 2 months ago. Yeah,
I've been out of it. I've been gone for 2020.
we can play it right now.
I think Barrage is going to be my most anticipated
Yeah.
game of 2020.
Yeah. Mine is very simply tied very closely to Tricarion. My most anticipated game of 2020 is Anachrony Fractures of Time. I cannot wait
All right.
to get the full experience of Anachrony with all the best, beautiful components in a box that looks like my Tricarion Collector's Edition with all the expansions.
Or
and all the
Snowdonia,
goodness.
so big.
Yeah, exactly. I cannot wait. I've never played Anachrony, but and look, I'm well aware that it might be a little more swingy and random than Tricarion, and so I have a caveat that's not necessarily my cup of tea, but I'm very much hoping that it is as good as Tricarion.
Folks, that's all we have time for.